It's the first prayer a Jewish child learns, and the last thing a Jew says before they die. It's whispered at bedtime, hidden inside mezuzahs on Jewish doorways, tucked into tefillin, the black boxes Jews wear to pray. It's been said by Jews for thousands of years, in moments of joy, fear, and everything in between. It's not just tradition, it's identity, it's faith. It's how Jews affirm who they are, to themselves, to each other, and to God. And here's the wild part, it's only 6 words long. But those 6 words have shaped Jewish life for generations. So how did this tiny prayer become the beating heart of Judaism? Jews are really into peekaboo. Okay, I'm obviously kidding. Those people are not playing peekaboo and they're not playing hide and seek. They're saying the Shema, Judaism's most iconic prayer. Many Jews learn this prayer when their parents sing it to them over their cribs. It's a constant refrain throughout their lives, right until the very end, when even at their deathbed, it can be the last thing they ever recite. I didn't know the Shema as a child. I only learned it when I converted to Judaism. In fact, it's often one of the very first statements a new convert makes after the Jewish court approves their conversion, a moment many say is one of the most meaningful moments of prayer in their entire lives. So I wanted to better understand the Shema, why it's so meaningful, where it comes from, and what it's all about. And in looking into this prayer said by Jews around the world for thousands of years, the first question that came up was, is it even a prayer? Check out a Jewish prayer book and you'll see there are 3 types of typical Jewish prayers: praising God, thanking God, and asking God for stuff. Let's see where the Shema fits in. Here are the actual words. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. By the way, Hashem is a word Jews use to refer to God without saying God's actual name, which we're only supposed to use when we're praying, not when we're hosting YouTube videos. Hashem literally just means the name. So God is God, God is one. It's not really an expression of gratitude or praise, and it's certainly not asking God for anything. Plus, it starts with Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, or listen up, Jewish people. This so-called prayer isn't even addressing God, it's addressing the nation of Israel. So if it's not a regular prayer and it's not even talking to God, why do we say it all the time? To answer that, we have to go back to the source. The Shema first appears in the last of the 5 books that make up the Torah. Let me set the scene for you. After leading the Israelites out of Egypt, through the desert, and all the way to the border of the Holy Land, Moses is preparing them to go on without him. He gives a summary of what happened since they left Egypt. He repeats the 10 commandments. He reminds the Jews to be good boys and girls, and not to get pulled into the wicked ways of the other nations. And then he says the 6 words that had been on the lips of Jews for millennia. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. It's a super simple sentence, but also a complicated one. What exactly does Hashem is one mean? Back then, surrounded by all those tempting idolatrous and polytheistic nations, Hashem is one could have been laying down the law, reminding the Jews about their roots. Don't forget, we're on Team Hashem. Stick with the one true God. Monotheism rules. But there's another meaning I came across, one that I connect to deeply. Hashem is one means Hashem is oneness. Hashem is singularity. God is one and everything is one with God. It's a deep idea and maybe a little abstract, but it's not complicated. Basically, there's no difference between you, your cup of coffee, and that smell of freshly baked croissants. It's all God. In other words, the Shema tells us that as Jews, the ultimate expression of faith is not just that we believe in God, it's that we believe God is present in everything. That's why Judaism has elaborate rules and customs about seemingly mundane things, like the food we eat, or the clothes we wear, or even which shoes we put on first. Because everything we do and everything we touch is an interaction with something godly. That probably wasn't a tough concept for the Jews of the desert to grasp. These Israelites lived every day surrounded by indisputable evidence that God was everywhere. Their food and water just appeared out of nowhere. It was like a 40-year free subscription to Blue Apron. The kosher version, of course. But Moses was addressing a generation about to leave those daily miracles behind. God would no longer be delivering all of their physical needs on a silver platter. They'd have to farm or do whatever people did for food before Whole Foods. So Moses delivers the message loud and clear. You might not see the hand of God as clearly as you did here in the desert, but don't think for a moment that God isn't around. God is still there in the crops you plant, in the homes you build, in every person you meet. Okay, so the Shema tells us to believe in God. But how? What does believing in the one true God look like on a day-to-day basis? Don't worry, the Shema's got you covered. Right after those famous 6 words come 5 verses that tell us how to believe. The short answer, belief in God isn't a passive thing. It's something we work at every day in our lives. Here's what the first verse says. Love Hashem with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Loving with all your heart, that's fairly straightforward. The heart is the home of your emotions. That's what you expect to use when you love something or someone. With all your soul, that's a bit more profound. The soul is this intangible thing, your deepest self. It's your life, your breath, your God-given spark. So if the heart means loving with your emotional side, the soul could mean loving with your deepest inner being. And then with all your might, or it's sometimes translated as with all your resources. Here the idea is rooted firmly in the practical world. Everything you have, money, muscle, talent, creativity, empathy, intelligence, you can use it all to love and serve God. In other words, this verse tells us that Judaism's ideal version of service to God isn't a monk isolated in a monastery somewhere, separating himself from the rest of the world. To borrow from John Legend, Judaism is very much all of me loves all of you. The more we engage the real world, the more opportunities there are to love and interact with God. The next 4 verses underline the importance of the Shema by listing when and where you should see it, say it, and think it. Spoiler alert, it's everywhere all the time. The Torah says you should have the words of the Shema in your heart and on your lips constantly. When you're at home, when you're on the road, you should teach them to your children, put them on your doorposts, and wear them on your arm and head during prayer. Even when you're just sitting around the house, the Torah wants you to remember these words. And not only that, focus on them. Channel your whole mind, body, and soul into them. Let's be honest, that's pretty challenging. Saying the words is no problem, but to really think about them, that is not an easy task, which is why Jews have the custom of covering their eyes with their hand when they say the Shema. Call it meditation, call it blocking out distraction, call it forcing yourself to focus. It's absolutely all of those things. It helps create an intimate personal moment, and that makes for an intimate personal prayer. When I cover my eyes, I return to the notion that God is one with everything. I think of it as making it easier to ignore the physical world, that world which seems to say that I'm one thing and you're another, and to remember that everything is actually connected. Covering your eyes may help you connect on a personal level, but the Shema isn't just a personal prayer. It's something that connects Jews across cultural differences, geographic divides, and even generational ones. The Torah instructs us to teach these words, specifically these words, to our children. In Judaism, we're big on passing stuff down from generation to generation. Knowledge, values, challah recipes, even dating advice. But the Shema is one place where Jews have taken that responsibility very seriously. As a result, those words have become so deeply ingrained into the minds and memories of Jews that even those who haven't learned a single other Hebrew word can recite the Shema by heart. It's like a seed of Jewish identity buried deep inside each person. And that seed has at times functioned like a Jewish password, helping Jews identify one another throughout the ages. Okay, so there's no doubt that this prayer is iconic. It's everywhere. And we've established that the reason it's everywhere is because the Torah basically says, this should be everywhere. But the question remains, why? Of all the passages in the Torah, why is this a one and only piece that we're supposed to be saying and thinking about constantly? We don't even give this treatment to the 10 Commandments. What is so special about the Shema? The magic of the Shema is in its simplicity. There are almost 80,000 words in the Torah, but these 6 get to the very core of what it means to believe, the very core of what makes Jews Jews. Hashem is our God. Hashem is one. When a Jew says those words and means them, it's a recognition that God is in everything, including ourselves. That can be such an empowering feeling, to remember that we are godly beings. For those few seconds, it's like being bonded with the Creator. Which is why, in addition to being part of our everyday routine, the Shema is also the go-to prayer, the go-to exclamation when people are seeking closeness to God, in moments of joy, in moments of desperation, and even at the very end of their life. Throughout the ages, the Shema, the simple yet profound expression of faith, is a phrase Jews have had on their lips in their final moments before death. Countless martyrs throughout our history have said it before being killed on account of their Judaism, using their last breath to reaffirm their belief in God, rather than deny their faith. Non-martyrs also cling to the Shema in their final moments, taking one last opportunity to profess their devotion to God before their soul leaves their body. And what about the rest of us? What if we're not experiencing immense joy or profound despair? What if we're not just about to shuffle off this mortal coil? What if it's just a Tuesday and we're getting ready to start another routine day with routine joys and disappointments? For times like those, the Shema is a call to close our eyes, to remove ourselves from our physical surroundings and connect to a core phrase, a core value that has united the Jewish people for millennia. The belief that Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. God is one, and everything is one with God, including you. And that perspective can help us enhance our connection with God, our connection with the world, and our connection with ourselves.